Welcome back, everybody. This is Sims Complete on the Believe Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. I'm Matt Sims. He's Phil Sims. What a weekend of football that we just had, big guy. Didn't get much sleep this weekend, right? Covering all the action and doing all that stuff, which is absolutely phenomenal because it's just great football all around from the pros to the college level. And man, despite my lack of sleep, still just jacked up today to talk more ball, right, with you and to get your thoughts about, of course, the NFL matchups, what we saw last night with the national championship, which was absolutely phenomenal. Great game played at that level. But man, where should we start? I guess let's start with the most important thing right now.
Well, yeah, let me start with this.
What? Okay, go ahead.
The playoff games. I don't know. I got more nervous for the games to come on than I did when I was playing.
Yeah.
I really never got, nervous when I played, but I'm like, hope it goes well. And then last night, the championship game for college football. Oh my gosh. I don't know who I was rooting for, whatever.
Right.
We'll talk about it a little maybe later, but it was tension from the start to the end.
Yeah.
I could see it on the field. I could see it with the coaches.
Right.
I felt it. And I had a room full of guys and girls here, whatever their wives. Maybe I hope that's right. And we all felt it. We talked about it like, wow, every play is so important. So, great stuff. But go ahead, NFL playoffs.
NFL playoffs. And let's just kind of do we'll do a quick little recap. We'll do a quick recap of all this weekend's actions and what we saw. Let's go ahead, though, and start with the New England Patriots, right? New England Patriots and winning at home against the Houston Texans in a game that, at one point early on in the second quarter, the Texans had a 10-7 lead. But very similar, like the Patriots game against the Los Angeles Chargers, never really felt like the Texans really could win the game with how they were struggling, especially on the offensive side, and especially C.J. Stroud, unfortunately, right, as he was kind of the main piece of the story there for the Texans. But the Patriots win 28-16. They move on to the AFC Championship game, and Mike Vrabel's first year as a head coach, Drake May's second year as a starting quarterback there. Big guy, your takeaways just from the Patriots side of this game and what you're thinking about it.
Okay, a little bit. The Patriots side, I thought Drake May at times, it was a little rough early, but he got the hang of the game, the weather, and who he was playing against.
Right.
It was a lot to kind of focus on and get in rhythm with it because it's hard to get rhythm as a quarterback when you're playing the Houston Texans defense. So that jumped out to me watching the game. In this day and age, I did not expect the footballs to be such a problem for both quarterbacks.
Right.
The footballs are great to throw. They're made and they rub them up the right way and all that. And I've seen many rain games where it wasn't, but maybe, I don't know what it was, but it seemed to be a big factor with both quarterbacks. But my first thought as I say all this was the New England defense.
Yeah.
And why? Because it looked extremely dynamic to me on TV. The blitzes, the things they were doing caught Houston by surprise. They couldn't handle it. And it was fast, physical, smart, and everything you want to say. And, of course, Drake May, when it came down to it, made a couple really big throws in the game that kind of closed it out. But that's my first and maybe my only thought about the New England Patriots, how they played. They did what they had to do to win. And I'll talk about Houston later. But they were dynamic when they needed to, throwing the ball, and especially on the defensive side.
Yeah, and I think this is where having an experienced offensive coordinator like Josh McDaniels really comes into play, because you could see that there was multiple situations, especially in the short passing game over the middle, where they were able to isolate defenders, put them in tough positions, and to give Drake May easy throwing lanes for big time plays, right, in critical situations, especially there. As the game continued to wear on, you could see that they were finding some different answers to at least move the football and to get this defense kind of off them in certain moments. And I think to go to something that you mentioned earlier, this is, I think, a great example of two young quarterbacks and maybe their first real, it is actually their first real opportunity of playing meaningful football this time of the year and having to deal with the elements. And, we got to see Peyton Manning and of course, Tom Brady and so many others, right, from that generation kind of go through it and like, hey, one year they didn't wear gloves. Hey, then the next year they are wearing gloves. Then they start that whole different style of establishing what they would do for those type of environments. And I think for the young QBs that we saw this past weekend, just first rodeo, right? And clearly not quite prepared and ready to do it. And that's why we saw a lot of footballs get away from both quarterbacks in this situation. And to go into a little bit more of what you thought about the Patriots, I also think that the Patriots, right? No doubt the defense played great. They were all over it, right? And that's a question mark for Houston in their defense. But also, I think there was the added element of they knew that C.J. Stroud wasn't playing confident football, and that just emboldens you even more as a defense to play aggressive, knowing that you're not really going to get any sort of repercussion, right, for being too aggressive that way. So it really was kind of the perfect storm for New England in that sense, with the atmosphere, the environment, the weather conditions, and also just where C.J. Stroud was at mentally as a quarterback going into this football game.
Yeah, I think the Patriots, I'm giving them lots of credit. I know they spent a lot of money in the offseason. I don't care. They brought in the right guys. Milton Williams, my gosh. Oh,
yeah. Damn, is he good?
He needs to go in and renegotiate. Hell,
yeah.
I mean,
well, what's great about him is that he's like he's a 2-for-1 type of player.
Yes.
He's a D end, but he's a disruptive interior defender as well, too. So that's where I feel like he's just a Swiss Army knife as far as just Vrabel and that defense goes.
And my last thing about New England, their offense and all that, I thought Drake May, it was really interesting.
Yeah.
He hit some slants, Stephon Diggs caught that touchdown. That was amazing. But he had to throw them so hard.
Right.
Because those defenders were all over it.
Yeah.
Houston's defense, man, once again, we all know they could go to the Super Bowl, their defense, yes. But to see it again, I just go, wow.
Yeah.
I wrote down, I think I used X and sent it out. It's the 85 Bears.
Right.
What it reminded me of. They just whipping butt everywhere. And Will Anderson, I had some doubts about him when he came out in the draft. Well, man, I don't even know what to say. I'm sorry. And he might be the best defensive player in the NFL. What do you have? 3 sacks. And the thing is, he looks bigger and faster and more physical than he ever did at Alabama.
Amazing, right? Yeah. I think the same thing too. And I wondered too if just, he's become a pro. And I think that's what's awesome about even them bringing in a guy like Danielle Hunter, who, you have been saying this. It was just like, you've always said, I don't know why people don't give this guy even more respect by how productive he is, how good of a player he is. But they are every down defensive ends. They're not just like, oh, hey, I just pass rush. They do everything for you. And that's what's really cool about him. And you're right. I think Will Anderson has really gotten even more athletic and has more of a spark off the edge than when we saw in college. And, hey, maybe in college he was getting work too much, right? And maybe in the NFL they've done a better job of managing him and keeping him fresher. But, there's no doubt. I noticed that as well, too, in this game.
Matt, in college, defensive end, defensive tackle, middle linebacker.
Yeah.
He played everything. And I think that's what confused me. I go, well, hell, he's not great at any of them. Or I didn't mean it that way, but I just go, I don't know. But boy, now he comes up on the outside with Danielle Hunter. And boy.
Yeah. And that's why Saban played him that way, right? Because he was just like, he's so good. We're just going to put him on the field anywhere we can, They
put him wherever they needed help for that week.
Right.
It was really week to week. Gosh, I think they were playing Texas. I'm not sure. I saw him outside linebacker, defensive end. Then I go, wait, well, who is that? That was him playing nose guard.
Yeah.
And but just everything about him. You're right about Danielle Hunter too, man. It's the defense was tremendous for Houston. I can't imagine what the defensive players were saying to themselves, to each other, because Houston's offense. Here, let me go into this real quick. Yes, C.J. Stroud did not have a good day, and that's an understatement.
Yeah.
And I can see why a wet football would hurt him a little. He's a high delivery guy. So when you got to, as we know, we teach a lot of quarterbacks, the higher that arm goes, man, the harder I think it is to be accurate. You can either lose it high or you can pull it and lose it low. And he did both of those things. And after the game that he had in Pittsburgh, I thought for sure that, and I blame the coaches for this too, Matt. Why the hell are you over there calling like it's dry and he's the hottest damn quarterback going in the NFL right now. He's struggling. Run the damn ball, punt it, and let's play.
Yeah.
You actually sit there and think, what would it have been if he wouldn't have made some of those turnovers, which were just really, really bad. And,
I think honestly in this game too, and of course, with X and all that, people are being rough on certain people who took a stand of just saying, yeah, hey, CJ Stroud did not play well. And everyone was like, well, you're not being as critical to Justin Herbert or Josh Allen and all that. And it's like, don't even waste time with that discussion, because the discussion is totally different and on opposite ends of just what we're actually seeing here on the field. And for CJ Stroud, I think D'Amico Ryans did a disservice playing him in the second half, honestly. And I think he did a disservice by playing him, because he really did run the risk of, like, you're only a moment or two away from maybe kind of just collapsing his career on himself, like mentally in a way, right? And just like putting him out there when you know that he's not feeling confident about himself, right? So that to me is like a little dangerous and negligent in that side. Then there's the other aspect of like your responsibility, and that's where I laughed at some people who were doing the halftime stuff at this game and even post game too. They were talking about, well, it's the legacy of CJ Stroud. And like, if he plays well in the second half, you got a quarterback of the future. And it's like, I already know he's the quarterback of their future. I don't give a damn about his legacy right now. What I care about and what's most important is the fact that this team has gone through a lot this season, and their head coach and their decision makers need to do what is right in continuing their season. And it's not worrying about the feelings of their starting quarterback or his legacy and where he is on the totem pole of quarterback rankings for this year, and it's like, get out of here with that crap. Davis Mills should have played in the second half because that was the right thing to do, to protect CJ Stroud from himself, to protect your football team, and a team that really did have some championship qualities. So I really do think that there's just so many things that were wrong when we're looking at this Texans CJ Stroud situation, from fans, media, and even within the team as well.
Well, let me go over this again. As I said all that about CJ Stroud, and it didn't even occur to me as I watched the game, and I rewatched it. What is today? Tuesday? So I rewatched it yesterday.
Right, yeah.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You're right, Matt. The coaches did a disservice. It's not about playing him in the second half. I did games like that. I played and had horrific game. And, I suffered all week long the next week, and I just couldn't wait for the next game. But that next game, man, I'm telling you, if there was a guy on the field on defense, I said, well, I'm not going to throw it over here because he's on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I played it so conservative where I wasn't going to be part of the game until it came to me.
Right.
Throw some screens, whatever, run with the football, give me some easy throws. What are we doing? But when you're I'm not going to, just to stay on this subject, but I think.
And this is the thing, we're supporters of CJ Stroud.
Yeah, we are,
right?
Of course.
We love CJ Stroud. We think he's a hell of a football player, but we've all been there too. Personally, we've seen it. Sometimes it's not necessarily, oh yeah, hey, just go out there and, sometimes when you push harder, you just sink further into the hole.
Worse.
Right? And it gets worse. Exactly right. And then there's some cases too where you don't recover from that. And especially with just modern media and all that. And I just feel like the Texans really did a disservice to the rest of their team and that roster by trying to be comfortable, right, with their quarterback.
You make a good point. I would have disagreed with you about taking him out. But if they bring Davis Mills into the game and he's going to play better, I would suspect you could win the game, and now CJ Stroud is back in the starting lineup the following week.
That's right.
And if you do that, it still will hurt his feelings, and it's this and that, but it's the best thing to do. I didn't even think about that as I was watching the game. As they talked about taking him out, I went, man, he is the franchise quarterback. And I'm sure that I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
But
no, I know.
That had to be something. They thought he was the best guy for the job. He's going to straighten it out. But we've seen a game and a half where it was just those two games he played, I don't think he played a game as bad as that. in his pro career or in college or in high school.
And that's my thing too. Like when we're watching the Pittsburgh game and why we went to the picks, and I'm just like, big guy, like I can't take the Texans because I just saw that look on his face. And being a former player, I mean, I go back to the last game of my career, right? Where I played in the preseason as the Atlanta Falcons backup quarterback against the New York Jets. And you know what, big guy? I was hurt, right? I had a herniated disc in my C6, C7. My left arm was damn near numb and hanging from the side of my shoulder. And I went out there. And wow, was that dumb? I mean, it really was. It was stupid. And it hurt my career. It hurt my confidence. It hurt who I was as a human being for a long time. You know, it really did. And you know this because we talked about it and I shared it with you. And, you know, of course, you know, being the great father that you are, you supported me through it. But still, like, it took time for me to kind of get over that, right? Because that was my last chance. And that's what I got nervous. Like when I saw CJ Stroud, I saw like a reflection of myself. Yeah. Because I could see that worry on his face. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, like I know that face. I know that feeling. And like, you know, I respect the fact that he's out there and he's trying to work through it. I do. But I also know that he was that much closer to hurting himself for a longer period of time that carried into not only just this game, but maybe into the rest of his career. And that's where I got concerned. And that's where I thought, you know, just with the mental health of things and all of that, it's just like, you got to be a little bit more considerate. And then, all right, now it's back to the business of it. Right. The business of D'Amico Ryans is to win football games, not to worry about the feelings of his players in moments like that. Right. Yeah, so there's that part of it too. So it's just an interesting dynamic to it. And yeah, sorry to go off on a tangent on that. But,
look, you know. I know he's not going to hear this or listen to it. Somebody might say it or whatever, which I hope they do. It's going to be a rough off season for him.
Yeah.
You know, I guess, he's going to be in Houston, the fans. I lived through that too, you know, play a playoff. Yeah. He didn't win it. I played okay, but it wasn't, whatever. And, people would say things to me and, me, I'd go, hey, man, you better shut up. Okay. But that's fans everywhere and who they are.
Yeah.
And he might hear some of that. He might not. But if I was a fan, I would encourage him more than I would say, hey, wow, you didn't play very
well. Of course.
But, tough on CJ Stroud, tough on the team.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that I think America, football people, everybody kind of saw it that, damn, they're good enough on defense to be a Super Bowl winner.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the people that thought that, they were right. So,
yeah, absolutely. Right. And no one can speak to that and the adversity of what a football player goes through more and can come out of the other end of it still, just accomplishing a lot of the things that you want to accomplish in your career than you. So, for you to say that to someone like CJ Stroud, who's in the thick of it right now, from your thumb being ripped off your hand, to everything else that you went through your career with Parcells and all that. It's just like, you're the exact example, of just how success isn't everything, right? Failure is not fatal. And just like, hey, keep going, right? The courage to continue is what matters, right?
You don't have a choice. Just buck up. You don't have a choice.
Buck up. Yeah.
Buck up and just take it like a man, and that's okay. Yeah. So, as we know, we say all this stuff every off season and before the season, this team and that team, and it's just goes nowhere, and it's usually wrong. But for CJ, look, we know he's a good kid, all that. He works hard, and hopefully the off season is going to be fine. And once the season starts next year, it only takes 1 or 2 games. Play decent, don't even have to play great, whatever.
Yeah,
and it's over.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, let's move on.
Let's do it. So the New England Patriots advance, and let's go to the Broncos matchup now, which, that's who they'll be taking on. The Broncos win 33-30 over the Buffalo Bills. And let's not really break down this game too much, right? Just because we're so far away from it now. But just, your thoughts about the Patriots and just now seeing Jared Stidham, right, and the Denver Broncos and what happened with Bo Nix. I mean, you're a fan of Jared Stidham. You've been watching his career and liked his film coming out of Auburn, and just kind of go into some of that stuff of Jared Stidham and Sean Payton and what we could see potentially this weekend.
Well, I'd just say this: one, he's very capable, big guy. I think he's about 6'4", something like that, 6'3". He's a decent athlete. He's not Bo Nix running around.
Right.
I don't know who said it on TV. If I can remember, I'd give him credit. But Bo Nix ran for over 400 yards during the game or something like that. And that's crazy.
Right.
That's who he is. That's what Sean wants him to do.
Right.
Whatever. But Jared Stidham, when he was at Auburn, his senior year wasn't great because he hurt his back.
Right.
I remember, I said, man, and it made him drop in the draft. In fact, when he went to New England, I don't know if he was perfectly healed. I didn't have time to look into it. It doesn't matter. But I'm sure he's sitting there. Well, I probably would have liked it to have been a regular season game for one game before we go into the playoffs. But
yeah, right.
We're going right to the conference championship.
Yeah.
Listen, big. He's mobile enough. He will get outside the pocket in this game. Maybe not as easy as Bo Nix did last week because New England's pretty good at stopping those little things.
Yeah.
But his arm is, I would say, average plus in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little stronger than I think that we all think and what you might think because he's a backup quarterback. But and listen, he's got Sean Payton. Okay, so that's going to mean a lot and take care of things right there. He's gonna work him into the game, make sure he's get some early completions, and get his confidence going and go, hey, I haven't been on the field in a couple years, but I feel pretty good. So that's my first thought about it. And last week, just to talk about that game real quick on the offensive side, man, Sean Payton and Bo Nix, they were rolling everything out.
Yeah.
So that was cool to watch. I still felt like before the game that a lot of people that cover football like we do still don't believe in Bo Nix. What does he have to do? Well, they won a lot of close games. Well, I guess he had nothing to do with that.
Well, we're definitely in this championship championship or bust mentality. And of course, I think we all got numb to this too because of Mahomes, because of Brady. And it's just like, during that 5 or 6 year stretch, it's like, well, if you're not Mahomes, you're not Brady, you stink. And I just think that we get very obsessed with that, even with college football and how we evaluate the young quarterbacks. It's like, well, he didn't play well in this game. And it's like, yes, I know. But well, actually, no, the stats are misleading. He played very well. He actually had to do this, this, and this to keep them in the game. So we're very just quick to judge and just throw under the rug, right? Just some of these QBs as far as like, hey, they're not doing this and that. Oh, they don't have ice in their veins. It's like, yeah, I know that. He's 22 years old. Like, he's learning how to get ice in his veins. Like, it's not always just like one of those things. Like, Tom Brady didn't win every damn game he played in, so it's like, I feel like we've gotten unrealistic a little bit with our expectations.
Very, very.
Right?
It's over the top. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And, they had a turn. Well, some turnovers in games mean nothing to me.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
But it's
some of them don't turn into anything, right?
No,
some of them it's like
still the number. Well,
exactly, yeah.
And I forgot what I was really going to say, but the expectations that these quarterbacks that you got to, and look, I'm not always on the side of the quarterback. I know how to damn judge them, okay, and I know how to judge the stats. And you said it right. There's a few people that I say, okay, that was a good take or whatever. But, if you're a quarterback and your ass is getting killed every throw, well, he didn't have a very good game. He only completed 65% or whatever.
Right.
It's the context, the overall thought of it. And, man, oh, well.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I've actually said to somebody once, you know what? We should do a show. I told the guy he could do it. And I said, just all the things that are said on TV that you really disagree with, make a show out of it every day and use it. And
that's not a bad idea, honestly. Especially
it is a good idea because we got writers that think they know something. Okay, but then the guy goes, I don't know if I could sit back and just make all these bad comments about people I work with.
Yeah, right.
Whatever, that ended that.
Well, hey, and some of the Bo Nix detractors out there that you hear of every now and then, and I know, I have an inkling of who some of these people are because they're just happy being miserable. And that's what makes them happy, just bring everyone into their misery with them. And that's part of their shtick on air, which is funny. But, for that, now everyone's like, wow, man, wish Bo Nix was playing. It's like, yeah, that's right. And my big thing is, You said this the other day, which was so true. Bo Nix and Sean Payton play a frenetic style of football and offense, and they like that. They like the chaos that Bo Nix plays. And I think that's the biggest difference when you look at this matchup is that you can't really rely or expect Jared Stidham to go out there and play that frenetic style. So that even might just take Sean Payton a minute to adjust to how to call the game because
great point.
you're right. Like it's going to be a little bit of a different style of like, how do I get him involved in the game? Yeah, he's not going to run around and do everything that Bo Nix said because he hasn't had the snaps to really have confidence to do those things. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they approach that as far as the game plan goes. And of course, remember too that they got a damn good defense. Drake May has had an issue in the playoffs of holding onto the football a little too long and fumbling.
He does.
He's got 6 fumbles in the playoffs.
Holds it too long is right.
Somehow he's still up for the MVP of the league, but it's just one of those things where like this matchup I think is pretty interesting, and I think it's not so just like, oh yeah, the Patriots are absolutely going to win the game just because their starting quarterback is playing and the backup for the other team is.
Well, yeah. Now the quarterback thing is, of course, it's big, and I really, like I've already said, Sean Payton will find a way to get him into the game and keep him in the game. Yeah. But other aspects of their football team has to change.
That's right.
So the great thing for the New England Patriots, they're riding high. Okay, the quarterback didn't play perfect like we wanted him to last week. It doesn't matter. We won.
Yeah.
Man. We're winning.
And he can still make the big time throws he needs to, right, to win games, which is awesome, right?
Yeah. So that, you got that. And then for Denver, too, just on the defensive side, realizing, and I'm sure it's going to be preached to them every second of this whole damn week, is that do your job, do it well. Don't do, because they know they need their defense to really play well.
Yeah.
One thing about New England, I look at them, they're big, they're tough as hell, they're physical, and, they know how to ramp it up too. So this game, I can see nothing but like we saw last night in the conference the NCAA final game.
National championship, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. The tension will be in this game the whole time.
Right.
And Sean Payton, he feels it too. He's like, damn, all that time. I'm not even laughing. It's so sad.
I know.
It's so sad. But,
it is. It's terrible. It really is.
What else did you think about the game? About how Denver played, and talk about, we got to say a few things about Buffalo, what went on their side too.
Yeah, I mean, with Buffalo, of course, it's a little bit of, you pick your poison as far as what people are saying about the game, right? First of all, I'm shocked that they fired Sean McDermott. I don't think that was the right move. I actually think that they got it wrong. I think that it should have been flipped as far as what they did, right? Because when you look at the draft class, you look at the roster construction, that's been the weakness of their team, not necessarily their play on the field always. It's the fact that they just don't have enough Johnnies and Joes necessarily to kind of keep up with some of these teams late in the season. This whole narrative like, oh, Josh Allen can't win the big one, all that, it's so dumb. It's so old. It's so boring too, honestly, and really just pathetic because they're not looking at the big picture of it. Again, Josh Allen carrying a team probably further than really what the team was actually capable of doing in the whole grand scheme of the season. And then, yes, he missed the throw to Dalton Kincaid over the middle. I get that, right? I understand that. He's got to make that throw. But still, that being said, if Brandon Cooks comes down with that catch, all right, that changed the game too. They probably kicked the field goal, and it's a different type of situation there, right? So,
well, you just can't open the door when you're playing these playoff games, and
and with their just defunct skill group, right? I mean, let's just face it. They relied on Keon Coleman to come up clutch for them. That didn't work out. They had to bring back Gabe Davis, who was out there in the streets, and get him back involved. Unfortunately, he goes down with the ACL. Then Shavers with the ACL. So, like, you really got a depleted football team that, what can you say? They played their asses off and they played tough as hell, and they were 3 points short against a team that has been on a heater all season. So, right. It was a rough year. And unfortunately, I think Sean McDermott ultimately got fired because he rubbed people the wrong way with just maybe how things were being run behind the scenes. And then also he got fired, I think, because just the snowball effect of even the loss a few years ago with 13 seconds left against the Kansas City Chiefs is just something that they just could not outrun, right, their past failures. And it just seemed like every other recent failure was just a reminder of the original one.
Right.
And that's where I think the Buffalo Bills are saying, you know what, we're just going to start fresh and start this whole thing over again.
Let me say this about Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I don't give him a pass. And, everybody, it's either you're a fan or you're not, whatever. The interceptions didn't bother me.
Yeah.
One very controversial, but the other one down the middle.
The fumble before half, now that bothers me.
That's it. The fumbles, you have total control of that unless you're just getting wiped out before you throw a ball or something. But generally, for Josh Allen, he's going to always determine what goes on for the hit as he runs. So the fumble and carrying the ball the way he did so loosely, I mean, you can't. I can't say
you can't do that. You can't do that.
You can't say anything. But Denver's really fast. They're really good on defense. So when you run, it's going to collapse faster.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't like he was trying to protect it. It was like, here, knock it out if you can.
And it's a 7-point game. Go into halftime with a 7-point deficit and move on, But the fumble, they kick the field goal, and now it's a 10-point lead. And then they come out of half and the sack fumble, and then all of a sudden it's a 13-point swing. So that's where, like, Josh Allen, you don't get a mulligan for that. You have to be better than that. And I think that's also why he was so emotional too, because maybe he did know that the bigger picture of, like, but it's just it's unfortunate. Now, I will say this too. Josh Allen's defense is average, giving up 31 points per game as a starting quarterback in the NFL in the playoffs. That's not a great number. I don't care who the hell you are as a quarterback. You're not going to win a lot of games when your defense is giving up 31 points per game, right? So, hey, Josh Allen, is he the end all be all, the solution of it? In some cases he is, right? In other cases he's not, right? So it just goes to show you again that it's a team game, because there are some other quarterbacks that played awful in the playoffs and they got wins.
Well, that's true too. Right. Yeah, listen, this whole thing about the other quarterbacks, I don't want to hear that. I don't care.
Yeah, right.
But the NFL, yes, they had a chance this year. They actually, before the year, I did not pick Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl or to do anything special. But as I watch the league, Matt, there's just, look at how teams are turning it around immediately.
Yeah.
Look at Chicago, what they did. I mean, come on, that's incredible. Houston turned it around quick when they got it going, and they haven't quite capitalized or taken advantage of it. But yeah, there's this next year, who knows, we could have 4 teams up there in the conference championships, and nobody would pick those 4 before the season.
Right. So,
hey, the NFL's rough. To win 3 or 4 games in the playoffs, really tough. And so we'll see. I'm excited to see New England going out to Denver. And even with Jared Stidham at quarterback, I don't care. It's still going to be fun to watch.
And think about this too, like, because this is something that we've been discussing, right? As far as just like, we're realizing again, or at least for me, like, I'm realizing again, yes, you have to have great quarterback play to win a Super Bowl in today's modern era. There's no doubt about it. You have to have at least above league average quarterback play, or just, at least what you're performing offensively of what you're being asked to do. But look at this though, right? So we have the Denver Broncos, rookie contract with their quarterback, a lot of other resources to the rest of the team. Okay. New England Patriots, rookie contract, a lot of resources to the rest of the team. Matt Stafford, yes, he is a franchise quarterback. There's no doubt about it. I think he's 16th, if I'm counting this correctly, on where he's ranked as far as payment per year for starting quarterbacks in the NFL. At 18th is Sam Darnold, the Seattle Seahawks starting quarterback, who everyone was like, well, I don't know. Like, he's not getting paid much by Seattle. He didn't get one of those big contracts, like, just goes to show you they really don't believe in him because they're only paying him this amount. And it's just like, they paid him what he thought that he was worth paying. He took it. And guess what? He's in an NFC Championship game. So we're being reminded, and I'm looking at the list right now. There's a lot of people above this list, right, who didn't even make the damn playoffs in the first place. And if they did, they didn't really do anything with it. So, where are we at with that? I think we're getting back to the thing of, like, just because he plays quarterback doesn't mean that he has to make the most money on the team. Doesn't mean that he's the most important player in the whole as far as the team goes in that way. Hey, so, we might have to kind of revisit this as we go forward here. But I think it's a little bit of a common thing. And all the quarterbacks who've gotten paid recently, Their win-loss column, well, the W column there is getting a little lighter each and every year. Joe Burrow, hey, offense, great. Yep. Don't make the playoffs. Pat Mahomes, lots of money. Don't make the playoffs, right? So it's just like, and that's the other thing too, big guy, because I know this pisses you off, right? Enough of, well, this was Josh Allen's chance because Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes were in the playoff. Listen, like, that is the laziest crap I've ever heard in my life.
I heard it again today.
I mean, like, just drop it. And also, too, like, why do we keep giving Joe Burrow all of? Yes, he went to the Super Bowl. Okay. Now what? Since then, what? They've gotten worse every single year, but for whatever reason, he gets the pass always. You know, it's just like, it's very silly to me. You know, they don't lose to Pat Mahomes. They lost to the Chiefs. Like, I don't get that. So that's silly. And also, too, like, just because those guys weren't in the playoffs doesn't mean that the Bills are a better football team than the Jaguars. They're a better football team than the Broncos. They're a better team than the New England Patriots. So, you know, we just lose sight again of just the greatest game, the greatest team sport game in football. Sorry to go off on a tangent there.
No,
it gets really old really quick.
It's the quarterback, and that nobody else counts on the damn field. And then it's easy to, now you can talk about, because you got stats that, you know, the general public knows about the stats, and you base all that crap on that.
Right.
And, you know, so I don't know what else to say. Hey, you know, Mendoza didn't play as well last night. Well,
I know.
First off,
yeah.
Let me say this. We will maybe talk just a little bit about it later. The Miami Hurricanes were physically a better team in my eyes than Indiana was.
Yeah.
They got more dudes than Indiana. So there's a lot of things that go on there.
Right.
So it's tough. You know,
Yeah.
I thought it would be a really tough night for Indiana's offense and Mendoza. And,
right. Well, let's just say this too. Like, hey, we got the Seahawks.
Yeah,
right. We got them, right? So let's not even go too deeply into this, because we're going to come back later this week and we'll preview this weekend's games a little bit more as we watch some more film and get some more thoughts on how they'll attack each other, right? But we got the Seahawks in a great matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. Probably the two best teams that you can kind of imagine coming out of the NFC, which, as far as their balance, the quarterback play, the defenses on both sides, the playmakers they have all over the field, the storylines, the coaches themselves, Mike McDonald and his creativity. Mike McDonald is like the defensive version of Sean McVay, right? He is like the defensive guru and the young rising star in that sense. So that's going to be a phenomenal matchup.
Well, let's talk about, let me just say this about the matchup. And let me talk about last week's game, or a couple of days ago.
Right.
There's Seattle playing San Francisco, and the opening kickoff or whatever, that was, you know, boom, you're in trouble already.
Yeah, right.
It was a team that's big, physical, fast, rested against a team that's exhausted and beat up.
That's hanging on. Yeah.
That's all they were. I mean, they were hoping that somehow they could make some plays to get the game and at least get Seattle thinking and slow down. But Seattle, it was a exercise in being physical and just whipping the other team, and they did it.
Yeah.
And the 49ers, you know, there was times I go, man, these defensive players, and even, of course, the offense too, they couldn't wait for the game to end. And
I mean, to their credit, they really hung in there the first half.
Yeah,
you know, I thought
but
that they at least.
I didn't think they did. I thought
no. Well, that's different. I think mentally they were there. They were playing hard. They were straining, all that. Very quickly in the third quarter, you could see it doesn't matter how hard we try. Right. This team is just that much better than us. So that's where I just, I want to just give them credit for, like, they were straining until you could just tell that, like, the Seahawks are just that much better. They're just that much more physically imposing in this.
Yeah, I don't interrupt you, but the one thing the 49ers have to do is they just got to find something or do what. I don't know how you do it.
Right.
Is there the injuries? I don't know. To me, it seems like it's a lot every year. Maybe I'm overstating it, but
no, there's no doubt that, like, of course, people have been bringing up, like, that little power plant right over there by their facility and all. And listen, honestly, the more woo-woo it is, the more I believe it. So I'm not the one to kind of talk about that kind of stuff. I mean, like, if you were telling me that, like, they had a spiritual demon there in the facility, I'd be like, yeah, I believe it. They need to bring a priest in, so, like, I'm one of those weirdos. But either way, there's something going on, right? It's a pattern. So they definitely need to do a huge audit as far as what's going on there and how to correct it, because now it's like, it's not a coincidence. It just seems like every year the 49ers have to deal with more injuries than any other team in the NFL and still somehow survive to make it into the end of the year and be competitive. But there's something going on there.
Well, let's go to that other game, which was so much fun to watch.
So much fun.
Oh my gosh. Just the atmosphere, the fans, a little snow, the field, and of course, a lot of playmakers on both sides. And it was,
and damn, it looked cold.
yeah. But that'd be my first thing I'll say. It looked cold, but I thought the quarterbacks, that was the exact opposite of what they did compared to New England and Houston. The quarterbacks, I thought when I was watching the game, and I wrote down, Caleb overthrew a few guys, but sometimes I go, I don't know if he didn't do it on purpose because they weren't open. But I thought him, and even this, I know the stats, but they lie. And, I thought LA, their passing game was pretty sharp, doing what they want.
Yeah.
Stafford had control of the ball, the deep. Man, I'm jumping all around, don't care.
That's all right.
The Chicago Bears defense, like it's just, man, if they had a few more games to play, they just got better. They made it tough on LA. I thought.
Well, it makes you think, like, Dennis Allen, what the hell were you doing before that? Because all of a sudden there's some different fronts. You're doing some different things defensively. You got more people around the line of scrimmage. You're sending safeties and corners off the edge to stop the run. And it's like, where the hell has this been the whole year?
Yeah.
So I just think that, like, it goes to show you that, we always talk about the players being ready and all that. Well, Dennis Allen was no doubt. He was locked in and ready to go for this matchup. I thought he did a phenomenal job. And guys like Brisker, Gordon, Stevenson in the secondary played absolutely phenomenal in bottling up the Rams receiving core. And that's the one thing about the Rams. They got some good receivers.
Wow, dude.
Not exactly like the fastest, most sudden bunch, right? A little bit more of a physical approach to their receiving core. And you could just tell that the Bears were not concerned with the speed threat of being beat deep.
Yeah, I mean, Puka Nacua, he's one of only one.
Yeah.
Because he's body typed, how he plays. Man, he gets rocked on the field, and he just,
he's a power forward receiver. I mean, that's really what he is.
Parkinson, man, he's another one.
Oh, man, that play was freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. He caught 3 for 56 yards.
Yeah.
Stafford was 20 of 42 for 258. And honestly, I thought he played better than the numbers would ever come up and say. I thought he was controlling the ball. Damn, man, does he throw a pretty pass? I did see one pass where it had a wobble to it, so I was a little concerned.
Yeah, he threw one over the middle where I feel like he threw it like kind of like last minute. And he tried to throw it so damn hard that it got away from him. I know which play you're talking about.
Yes, that was the only one, though.
That game, too, is just a great reminder of, like, because you see the talent of both quarterbacks on the field, and it's apparent just how awesome they are, right? So, again, that's the importance of the quarterback position. But, again, it's playoff football. The intensity of the game, you got to take that pressure away from your quarterback and make it about your team, your offensive line, the running attack, and all that. And then allow your quarterbacks at the end to make the plays they need to win the damn game. So it's a good reminder of us, right, that just there's the franchise guys, but it's the team. Okay, and then put it back in the quarterback's hands to win the game at the end, right? Like that's what it's playoff football is all about.
You know what I did? I'm looking at it because I feel like I did these notes like a month ago.
Yeah, right.
The O-line of the Chicago Bears, I thought they played really. I give them credit.
They kicked ass. Yeah.
Yeah, they pass protected, whatever. The quarterback, I have nothing to get on him about. But Swift, Williams, and Monungai, what a group.
Yeah.
Man, it's like there's Swift. He's really fast. And Monungai, who I got to run into somebody. Where the hell? He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
And, I watched him at Rutgers, and him personally, and you've talked to him a few times, I think, over the years.
Yeah.
But I never saw the running back that I see in the pros. I don't know why. Well, maybe because they weren't as good or well designed. I didn't see the same guy at Rutgers running the football.
Right.
And he went, the seventh round?
7th rounder, yeah.
That's amazing. These running backs, you can get I'm not saying he changes the football team, but damn, he's good. And you can get running backs in the 6th and 7th round. They come in and they make immediate impact. And,
well, I already know where he made an impact to and why he's in the starting lineup at times through the Chicago Bears. If you just watch how he pass protects, that's it. As soon as they saw him pick up the first blitz, they're like, we got to play this kid more, because he's not one of those like, I blocked the will. He's going to go and he's going to crush the will linebacker at the line of scrimmage. And the thing is, like, he, has the football IQ where, like, he knows exactly where the pressure is. He goes and he meets it at the line of scrimmage and he takes care of business, right? And there's no doubt about it. So, a great example for young running backs out there. You want opportunities like Kyle Monangai, learn pass protection rules, right? Be involved more so than just the ball carrier, because he earned the right to carry the ball more by doing those things. So, that's why Kyle Monangai will have a 5, 6, 7-year career because of being that guy for a football team. So, he's an awesome story, and he's a Don Bosco Iron Man, so you got to root for them. Come on.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, he does attack the pass rusher, and I think the pass rusher even knows too. Can't remember who it was. He kind of pulled up.
Yeah, right.
He did. He pulled up, and I meant to write it down but we don't get to show film, so we couldn't laugh about it. But also he runs that way. When in doubt, find somebody and run them over.
Yeah.
Not that he looks for it, but he knows when the play's about over, boom, and he tries to get that extra 1 or 2 yards, and he does it really well.
Yeah.
So the Chicago defense, 3 sacks. They were 5 of 16 on 3rd down. So that's, the defense just got better. And, as you're watching that game, you go, damn, the Bears could go to the Super Bowl. That's what I was thinking. They win this, they might go to the Super Bowl.
Agree. And you gotta be excited for the Bears. I think Booker played really well on the edge there too. Yep. Dexter played pretty well in the interior part of that defensive line. So, like, they had some good production by the front. The secondary was phenomenal. Dennis Allen's game plan was great. Really, the mixture of fronts, I think, is what was the most frustrating thing for Stafford and McVay, and why they kind of got out of their game plan, and why they kind of lost themselves to this football game. And man, just some unbelievable moments for this Chicago Bears team. And, Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, Roma Dunze. So Kyle Monangai, of course, a lot of really good young football players. And Caleb Williams on a rookie contract, right? So they got some room here to move and navigate moving forward for this football team to really build some unbelievable momentum, into next year and to years beyond, with just setting that foundation for this program. And it's pretty cool for Stafford, though. Yeah. I mean, critical moments. I mean, that throw to Devontae Adams on the sideline.
Oh,
holy shit, Taki mushroom.
That won the game. That won the game for him.
Amazing. First of all, great catch by Devontae Adams. But secondly, like, Stafford was set to throw like the seam here and did this.
Yes.
Like, man, I mean, he added a lot of English to that ball. I mean, that was unbelievable how he made that throw. But what a game, man. It really was. And
all right, I got a question for you.
Kobe Durant played awesome, right? He had the 2 interceptions. He was all over the place.
They had 4 sacks. The Bears had 4 sacks on defense, which is really good. Now, here we go. So the Bears tie the score up, or they throw the incredible play, which we've got to talk about for a few seconds. But Caleb makes that great throw.
Yeah.
Would you to kick the extra point and go for 2?
Yeah, I know. I feel like in the moment I was okay with kicking the extra point.
Me too. Yeah. I don't think in those situations, brings up a point. I don't think I saw enough plays from the Bears when they get inside the 10. They really struggle. Maybe the stats say different, but the closer they get to the goal line, I always thought they had a harder time.
Yeah.
They had a hard time running it in there, protection, somebody getting open. I mean, come on. When you're on the 4-yard line, you don't have to worry about anybody running by you.
Yeah.
So,
and that's where too, like, I think the Rams too defensively, like, they were giving up some big runs in moments of this game, but in the low red zone area, their defense definitely bowed up and was much better at stopping the run, right? Which kind of limited, I think, what Ben Johnson maybe was trying to do with just some of the power runs they had. But also too, like, Ben Johnson kicked the damn field goal again. I mean, my God.
No, early.
Holy crap. And I was getting upset with McVay when he went for it on 4th and 2, but credit McVay. That was a good call. in a play where, like, yeah, Puka Nacua is not going to get tackled by the safety 9 out of 10 times in a one-on-one situation like that. So it's like, that was a great call for a situation that is not an ideal situation to be in, but because he's a good play caller, he puts them in a position to win.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, really good. No, really good game. The Rams, it's they were hot as hell during the season. Then they kind of started to bring up question marks to me.
Yeah.
They had 2 tough games. And I think this, not to get ahead, but this game in Seattle, is this going to be special?
Yeah.
And the Rams, I think the Rams will have to be, I don't know, we'll wait later in the week when I'll know more when I watch Seattle a little bit. But the Rams will have to be at their best, I think, to beat Seattle up there. So.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a great matchup. Can't wait for it. And big guy, let's go into and mind you, Caleb Williams, 55 yards on that throw there. The game tying throw, 55 yards, threw the football from the 40 freaking yard line in that situation. So
you know what? There's somebody in the business. I can't say his name. Whatever. He's a reporter. Whatever. He's one of those guys that breaks news. So he calls me probably about a week after the season was over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's already over. Caleb Williams is going to be the first pick of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, well, you already know that? I said, oh, yeah, I watched it. It's incredible. He's great.
Yeah.
And I always kind of go back. I said, my son saw him in high school and told me he's great. And you know what? He's living up to it. Whatever. So the first thought is
I saw him. Yeah.
The physical traits were it. And did he play the quarterback position the way everybody talks about it? Well, you want? No, because he didn't have to. And
that's the thing too. He's just playing the game. He's not playing NFL quarterback. And what I say by this is, like, it's like the line of replacements when the quarterback who comes across like the cut line and starts playing again, and Gene Hackman goes, "Hey, why don't you throw that pass?" And he's like, that's just not the way I play, And it's just like Gene Hackman's like, well, we're not going to win if you play like that, right? And I feel like that's what I watched with Caleb Williams. He hasn't been in the league long enough to know that, like, oh, they're checking my stats and this and that. He's just playing to win,
Yeah,
and that's what I love about it. That's what I love about all these young QBs in the NFL. Around that 4th or 5th year, that's when they start to become CEOs and they start to change their style a little bit. But
Coach,
right now,
a few more screens. I need to get.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, but no, you're right with Caleb Williams. It was impressive, and when I saw him in person, in high school. Gonzaga High School against Don Bosco Prep. I don't know why the hell I went. I heard that they were a good team from Maryland, and I was like, all right, let me go check them out. And as the game's going, I'm like, who the hell is this kid? And he threw an in cut in that game.
Oh my God! Did he hurt the kid?
Man, yeah. I mean, he damn near harpooned him. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it was unbelievable. But he threw it, and I was just like, I looked around. And I was just like, does anyone else know just like how special that was right there? Like, you don't see high school kids do that. Yeah. And I literally went up to him after the game just to be like an evaluator, just to like confirm what I saw was real. And I share this with you too, like shook his hands. I was like, hey, Caleb, like I played quarterback here a long time ago. Just wanted to say, good luck. That was awesome. I really enjoyed watching you play today, even though you kicked my high school's ass. And he shook my hand. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's a strong hand. And then, you realize when you get closer to him, just how strong he is, right? How dense of a football player he is. Right. And we saw that with some of his scrambling and some of the plays that he made too, and that's why he's a special individual. So Chicago, man, pretty exciting, right? To know that you got a lot of good things going for you. And it's always good when Chicago's involved in pro sports and successful.
Sure. Now, what did you want to talk about last night's game?
Yeah, let's do it. So, hey, Indiana, Miami last night.
Yeah.
I mean, as they say in French, cinema. It was beautiful. I mean, it's just like, it was unbelievable. I mean, I loved it. It really was, honestly, at a pro in college, maybe the best overall game I feel like I've watched all year. And that's coming off of the weekend with like the Bills and the Broncos game. And of course, with the Bears and the Rams and all that. This game had it all. Man, where do we even start, big guy? What are some of your takeaways from this football game?
I had a couple ex-pros over here with me, last night.
Right.
So we had a really great group. And I remember I said, the tension you can,
Yeah.
and both teams knew that every play was important.
Right.
And I really had the feeling that early in the game, and I don't know if it really, if it ever went away, is that Miami was this close
Yeah.
from getting it done.
From breaking the game open, it felt like too.
It was
right.
always, and Indiana would do their thing, whatever they scored, and Miami would come back, and it stayed like that, where the wives and everybody are standing up because we had one of those charts, where,
Right.
Yeah, so that made it really more interesting. But everybody was like, oh, screaming everything. And honestly, I was like, damn, I'm exhausted when it was over.
Right.
And it didn't end until that interception. It was. In fact, we talked about it a little bit before we started today. I thought if Carson Beck would have just got it higher and 5 more yards farther, that catch could have been made for a touchdown. That's what I felt.
Right.
Now, I've seen some replays. The safety does get over there pretty quick, but it was maybe there. But, I'm trying to think how to do this. Carson Beck, that offense is not like what I would call a high-flying college offense for the quarterback. It's run, toughness.
Yeah.
And you really got to have all those little things to really keep the quarterback involved and all that. I thought they needed a little more too when I watched the game.
I agree with you. I do. And I think, it's a fine line because I do.
Yes.
First of all, I think Shannon Dawson is a phenomenal coach. And I've seen him now for the past 2 years with Cam Ward as his quarterback, with Carson Beck as his quarterback. He definitely is a coach that can pivot to where he thinks his team needs to go to win games.
Yes. Well, he changed. I mean, he's
a coach. Yeah. He's going to solve the riddle of just what his team's good at and what they're not good at and leaning into that.
Yeah.
And we saw that. And I think for him, he can kind of tell him this game. That's really, and that's the thing too, that's misleading because Carson Beck is a good deep ball thrower. He can throw the football down the field very well.
Yeah.
But this team and the way they're constructed, that's not what CJ Daniels does well. That's not what Keelan Marion does well. It's not what Malachi Toney does well, even though Malachi Toney had 10 catches. But they were a dink and dunk managed football team built off of power running.
Yes.
And to me, both quarterbacks were playing NFL football this entire playoffs because they had limited pass attempts. It was like play good defense, run the football, and when we do pass, make us right and hit the ball and hit the completion. And both of those guys did that. And I think, I said it last night, hey, we got a long way to go to the draft. I know that. But, there's a part of me that thinks we might have saw the number 1 and number 2 quarterback coming out of this year's draft class in games last night. And I know Carson Beck isn't the most well-liked or well-perceived quarterback out there, but just I've seen it 2 years in a row now, right? And watching it very closely in film, it's not an accident that he has an almost 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. It's not an accident that he's taken 2 separate teams to the college football playoffs. It's not an accident that he made some of the biggest throws in Miami history in critical moments. So, I think it's like we got to be very careful with just how quickly we discard Carson Beck as kind of just like a parlor trick, and just respecting him of like, he's a really good football player. You might not like him. Hey, there might be some question marks here and there with every quarterback and every player, but I really am impressed with this young man. I think he's damn talented. I think his talents translate very well to the NFL level.
Yeah, he's going to be in NFL. He's going to make a roster, all that. What round he goes in, I don't know. Will he be the second quarterback? I don't know. If I would say, if I had to do something right now, I'd say he won't.
Right.
But it depends.
We both like Ty Simpson a lot, so there's
Ty
that.
Simpson and the Ole Miss quarterback, Shambliss, so we'll see. He's coming out.
Yep.
He will intrigue a lot of people. But, yeah, nothing to worry about. If you want to see who I think he really is, go back and watch him at Georgia when they played Tennessee. It was a knockdown drag-out.
Mm-hmm.
And he played so tough, and he threw the ball great.
Yeah, right.
Kind of got on Carson Beck. I don't know when it was, or I heard Gary Danielson on the radio one day. I'm driving home, and he says, yeah, this Carson Beck, he's got a big-time NFL arm. And I said, yeah, maybe I need to watch him a little closer. And that was one thing. Well, there's a lot of things Gary Danielson was right about.
Yeah.
But he was right on there. Carson Beck does have a big-time NFL arm.
Yeah, Gary's seen it, so he knows. He's seen plenty of quarterbacks drop back and throw the football from up in the booth. So he's got that experience and he knows what he's looking for. And but yeah, this game was awesome. It really was.
How about this, Matt?
Yeah,
the touchdown run by Fernando Mendoza. Just give us a thought about the coach. Timeout. Oh, now let's go for it.
So it's off of a false start, right? It's a 4th and 1 situation, right? The false start on, I believe it was Carter, the left tackle, who really, both tackles, Carter and Benson, had a rough day against Mesidor and Bain. And you could see why they were trying to run in the middle of the defense against guys like Moten, who were playing phenomenal as well, too, right behind Pat Coogan, who's All-American center for them. And back-to-back national championships for him with Notre Dame and now Indiana, and he finally gets the championship, which is amazing, right? But, for that game, I wasn't sure what they were thinking. When he called the timeout, I was like, wow, okay, you're going to go for this here? Like, I get it. The field goal maybe doesn't really do anything for you as far as just the structure and the timing of the game. When they went into that empty formation, I was like, wow. I'm like, holy shit, he's going to put the season on the line with a quarterback draw.
You thought that before?
I did. Yeah. Cause the one thing that, they haven't done it often, but they have ran quarterback draw when they needed to in key situations. And I go back to the Penn State game, critical moment. Penn State is whooping Indiana's ass up front, and they went empty in a critical moment and said quarterback draw. And it was a walk-in touchdown. And I thought that maybe they would do that again. They did it. Now, Miami played it awesome. And Fernando Mendoza, wow, the side hop there, because he's got Poser, the safety, who is a hard-hitting player, bearing down on him. He jumps to the right. And then he hits Wesley Bassett, the middle linebacker for Miami, gets completely 360'd and still able to reorient himself and dive into the end zone. I mean, that is like just where's the sculptor right now in Indiana that's making the bronze to put outside the stadium? Because that really was just a cinematic moment there. No,
it really was. It's the fact he got hit to the right, and then he spins almost, and then he turns, and I was like, as we're watching the whole thing, the whole room was yelling and screaming because of many reasons. Some like we had kind of a split, Indiana and Miami,
right?
And so that was really cool. But that was exciting, and it'll be there forever.
And none of this happens without the 4th and 5 conversion on the drive earlier, right? Yes. Where he looks left, turns, and just throws it as hard as he can to the right sideline to Charlie Becker, one-on-one coverage, back shoulder. He threw it so damn hard that he actually missed the throw. He didn't throw it the way that he wanted to, but he was just like, I'm going to put everything I have into this ball. And Charlie Becker with, one of the most clutch catches I think you've ever seen in college football there on a 4th and 5. He's a 6'4", 210-pound receiver. And for him to catch that football and to balance the way that he did, it was good in the pros too, right? So that was a phenomenal play. And as Coach Toll would say, hey, you're not good at special teams, okay? You're going to get your ass kicked, all right? And there, Kamara with the punt block there, that's really, I think, was the difference in the game. Because at that point in the game, you could see, it was different. Like it was changing. It was shifting. It was going towards Miami. And Kamara with the block punt really did kind of like settle it all down again and give Indiana that chance to kind of catch their breath again.
Yeah, it was it was interesting in so many ways.
Yeah.
The block punt, they really had it blocked. The guy that was out there, he for some reason touched him and wanted to, I don't know where he was in a hurry to get down the field to cover the punt. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's terrific game. One, like I said, it'll last forever. And the quarterbacks, they both did a good job managing the game.
They did.
What I was going to say, and I forgot. But saw a lot of Indiana games this year. One in person, kind of saw probably about 7 or 8 of them on TV.
Right.
And to think that your number one pass is we're going to throw 30-yard back shoulders to the outside receivers.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Contested throws.
Yeah. I mean, no, every coach in college football is going, oh, we're not doing that. That's too, it's just.
You know what? But a credit to Corey Heatherman, defensive coordinator from Miami.
They were
Clearly their game plan was they're not going to call pass interference on us every play. So just be super aggressive and just get hands-on. And he's right. They called that bluff, knowing it's a championship game, knowing that the entire country's on them. You're not going to call PI in every damn pass play because honestly, it probably was PI in just about every pass on the outside.
a lot of hands, I don't know if you let it go, then the offenses at all levels, they're going to score a lot more points.
Yeah.
And it's every time it's a long throw down the field, there's just going to be hand grabbing, everything.
Right.
And that used to that was pass interference. Now I don't even say anything because it's every play.
That's right. That's right.
And
it wasn't the story of the game,
No, it wasn't. So it worked out well.
Man, Malachi Toney, he played phenomenal again. Young man, freshman for this football team. Mark Fletcher was phenomenal again. He had the big one, of course, there that kind of opened up Miami's offense in the third quarter that really kind of got things going for them. He had 17 for 112 and 2 touchdowns. That offensive line with Bell, with Francis Moanoa, I mean, man, that talk about some big, mean dudes on the offensive line for Miami. And credit to Indiana, for only giving up 110 yards rushing, because that was the one thing that I was a little bit nervous about for Indiana, because no Stephen Daly, no Kellen Wyatt, right? 2 guys in the interior that kind of rotate on that defensive front. But, guys like Tyreek Tucker play phenomenal.
Wow.
Mario Lindino was awesome in this football game.
Yep.
Yeah, and Dukwe had an impact as well. Kamara, of course, with the block pump, but is also, and that's what's cool about Indiana. He's a 4-down defensive end, and there he is blocking a punt on special teams, right? So, hey, a lot of people are saying it. Kurt Cignetti, he is the face of college football. There's no doubt about it. We were all nervous about, well, what's the future of college football now that there's no Nick Saban? Man, I think you got Nick Saban 2.0. You really do. And he's got the same isms as Saban, but he's maybe even more funny in the way that he carries himself.
He's
that look on the sideline.
Yeah, we were all saying things about it. Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, he really is. There's going to be a lot of
Google me.
Oh man, just everything about him, everything about that football team. And this will be the last time though that he's looked upon as the hero. Because I'm just telling you, when he keeps kicking everybody's ass in the Big Ten for the next few years, he's going to become the villain real quick.
Oh, no question.
Right? Real quick. So, but man, Amar Cooper, Charlie Becker played absolutely phenomenal. Kalen Black, the running back too for Indiana. Holy crap, does he run hard?
Yeah.
Right? So he's another guy, like he's a future Manung guy in the NFL where it's like, you could draft him in the 4th or 5th round, but he's going to end up being your starter because of just how he plays and how he's so just rough with the football in his hands.
The guy that when I saw him get the ball, I just went, oh my gosh, let's somebody get a hand on him. It's Toney. Hell, he's going to have to fight the rules next year so he can go in the NFL.
Yeah.
Early. But I mean, the true freshman.
Yeah.
And man, he's got to do that for 2 months. But gosh, he might be the fastest guy I've seen this year with the football in his hands running down the field.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
It was awesome. And of course, I didn't know much about him, but during the playoffs, I learned. I go, wow, get the football to him more. And,
yeah.
They did a good job. Overall, it'll be interesting too. My last thing, Matt, it'll be interesting to see what Miami does. I think they need to tweak it a little bit because you get these big games, you're not going to just mush the defensive line every game. So you need, they got us, but we got all these throws. We got a quarterback that can get it done. I mean, it's like Bill Parcells. We would run the ball against the team and beat them. And the Washington Redskins that say, we play them 4 weeks later. We're not running it. We got to throw it. We're going to throw it a lot. We're going to throw it down the field. Here's what we're doing. And because they knew, so I think that there's so much good competition now in college football. You got to be able to do a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't think teams can adjust because they haven't practiced it, had enough time, and these are not pros or college kids. So just the thought I saw when I was watching the game.
Yeah. Well, credit to Brian Haynes, too, defensive coordinator for Indiana. Really both defensive coordinators, because I thought Corey Heatherman really had his defense prepared, defensive coordinator from Miami, and like they were all over a lot of the stuff that Indiana was doing and things that they were getting away with. And, I think back to even just, I believe it was Ethan O'Connor who almost had the pick six there where he triggered on the hitch route that Mendoza threw to the field. Like that was a close one that, man, if he throws that a little bit more inside, like that's definitely going to the house and changing the game. And that's what Miami's defense was doing. Keontae Scott against Ohio State did it. Bryce Fitzgerald against Texas A&M with his 2 interceptions. So they had done that stuff throughout the season. Don't force Mendoza into that big mistake that changes the outcome.
Right.
But you're right. Like, I think they're going to learn a lot from this. It's just another great lesson, of course, for both teams that are involved. Of course, the coaching into it. But Brian Haynes in Indiana, the ability to stun and attack the gaps to slow down the rushing attack of Miami early on was huge. And then I love the fact, too, especially early on in the game, went with 2 and 3 man rushes in obvious passing situations and dropped 9 and 8 in coverage, which in the NFL would be like, no, like, don't do that to Matt Stafford. He's going to cut you up. Yeah. In college, a little different. You could see that, like, Carson Beck was like, wait, like, I don't have pressure. I have time to throw, but I should throw it. And I just think that they do a really good job of just mixing up some of their looks and then eventually adding pressure as the game went on to mix that stuff up. So no one went out and got Brian Haynes and Shanahan, the offensive coordinator for Indiana, this past offseason with their coaching searches. That will not be the case next year if Indiana has another successful season, which I anticipate them doing, just because, as their coach said, we're going to take Wednesday off and then we're going to go back to work. He's just that guy. So,
good.
Yeah. But awesome game, super fun. What a story. One of the best stories in all of football. Honestly, this Indiana football team and what they did this year, to me, matches, I've said this to you before, Herb Brooks and the Miracle on Ice, right, with the Olympic team there.
I think it's warranted, yes.
Right, it's up there. And also, too, with Shula and the Miami Dolphins. All right, it really does in their perfect season. It's up there to me as far as one of those stories in sports in history.
Well, you said it. Signetti didn't do this, but he could just go, man, what a great year. If you lose, means nothing.
Well, you said it too, right? You were just like, if they would have lost, it would have been like, oh, yep, hey.
We knew it.
We knew it. They weren't ever going to really, like, it was a good story, but, they won it. And he's 26-2 in 2 seasons as the head coach of Indiana. And I love it. And it's a good reminder, again, of just how silly Lane Kiffin is, right? And how silly this whole, like, oh, you have to go here to be successful. No, you don't. You can be successful anywhere you want to be now in college football. You just got to have the structure and the guys to do it. And of course, the talent, coaching wise and leadership wise, to put it together. Because if you ranked the top, the 12 teams that were in the playoff, if you ranked them, I bet you in roster, you could probably make the case that Indiana might have been 8 or 9 on that list, just ahead of James Madison and Tulane. And they won the national championship game. So,
yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, I would.
I mean, it's not the truth, but like as far as perception goes.
No, I wouldn't disagree with it.
Right.
We said this in the beginning. You didn't want me to talk about it, but I did it right off the start today. Is that we talked before the game started. All the guys, who was here.
Right.
I think this is going to be really close, and we had some wagers between us, which worked out pretty well for me.
Right.
But the talent, I think deep down that Miami's just a little more talented than Indiana.
Yeah, for sure.
2 defensive ends, the quarter. There are a lot of guys. They got a lot of guys going to play in the NFL.
Absolutely.
They really looked the part too.
No doubt. I mean, they were kicking the crap out of Fernando Mendoza. And that's where, like, you got to just say, like, for him on the scramble to win the game, for him to even make it to that point in the game was impressive. Because there were some questionable hits on him, and also too just normal pressure hits in the pocket, and you could tell that those defensive ends were having their way with some of those tackles and passing situations.
My last thing for sure. Here we go.
Yeah,
Tom Brady and Mark Davis were out there to watch the game, and I just say, listen, Mendoza to me reminds me of Tom Brady, same kind of body type, tall, lean, all that. And I would say Mendoza's arm coming out was stronger than Tom Brady's.
Yeah.
I think Tom Brady, when he's in the pros, he kept learning and learning. And all of a sudden, he could throw that damn thing as hard as he wanted. And
Right.
he did for his whole career. He never got I don't think he ever got a sore arm. I don't know. I never asked him, but whatever. Great. Hey, good NFL football, good college football. And we'll be back later this week to talk a little more about the upcoming games.
Yeah, man. And we didn't even get into the Harbaugh and his press conference with the Giants and all that, but damn, we're excited to have him there. He was pumped up, ready to go. But yeah, we went a little long with everything else. We'll get to Harbaugh later, right? Yeah. We got plenty of time with that. But he's Phil Simms. I'm Matt Simms. This is Simms Complete on the Believe Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. And we'll be back later next week to preview Championship Sunday, baby. The best weekend in all of pro sports. All right. We'll see you next time.